Before we get into today's video, issue number 6, the final edition for the year of my magazine, is out now. It's an MXGP one. We look at Romain Febvre's incredible comeback over the years, Jeffrey Hurling's up and down season, and we have a privateer profile on an incredible top 10 MX2 rider who does everything himself. On top of that, the rest of my editions are on an end-of-year sale just for $1. So if you want to support my work directly, this is the best way. Head to themxnetwork.com and go snag a few. Well, the return to racing for the World Supercross Championship was an exciting one for sure. We had battles, takeouts, and some injuries, of course. In this video, I'm going to focus on said injuries. Now, it's actually quite hard to find updates on riders, as WSX themselves don't seem to share any injury updates on their sites or anything, so you have to go out and look for it yourself and see who was actually injured. I could have swore there was a 250 guy injured, but I couldn't find it, so pardon that. If you can find it, let me know in the comments. Anyway, let's get right into the injuries. First rider I wanted to look at was CDR Monster Energy Yamaha rider and recently signed Partzilla PRMX Kawasaki rider here in the US, Aaron Tanti. Tanti was the 2022 Australian Motocross champion, defending that this year, and he came into World Supercross 7th in points in the 250 class, but stepped up to the premier class for Abu Dhabi. Unfortunately, his night ended prematurely due to a start crash with Justin Brayton. If you haven't seen the crash, here it is. Although the crash ended Tanti's day, luckily he walked away from it with only small injuries, cracked ribs, some abrasions on his back. Tanti said in a post-race statement, quote, "Unfortunately, last night I was involved in a start incident, just tagging bars with a rider and then getting landed on. Nobody's fault as such, just a racing incident in a tight space. I've sustained a few rib fractures and just some nice abrasions down my back. I won't be able to fly for a few days, but the healthcare over here is really great and I'm going to be looked after." I'd say that's pretty good news for Tanti, as it could have been far worse crashing on the start like that, especially how tight it was in there. I also said that Firepower Honda's Justin Brayton was involved in that, and as you can see in the video, he did get landed on pretty heavily. Although he and the team have yet to release a formal injury update, Brayton did reassure us that he was fine. He shared a video of it saying that hurt, but I'm okay, and along with Chad Reed in the comments saying he was glad to see him walk away fine from that one. So I'm going to take that as he is fine. He might have sustained a very small injury, but we haven't heard anything on that yet, so I'm just going to take it as Justin Brayton is fine. Rough night for him, though. On to the big one for the weekend, and that was Progressive Suzuki rider, defending champion, and points leader coming into this weekend, Ken Roczen. In race 1, Kenny got off to a rough start, had to climb his way to the front of the pack, in clean fashion, I might add. He attempted a last turn pass after racing all the way up to second place behind Vince Friese. He attempted the pass up the inside line, lost the front end, resulting in a hard hit to the ground. I'm sure you've seen the crash clip on the race, but if you haven't, here's a different angle of that crash. At first, I couldn't tell what he hit. His knee, maybe he tweaked his knee, his ankle, possibly foot. Well, after watching the clip a few times, you can see how hard he dabbed his right foot, which he ended up hurting pretty good. I'm not 100% sure if it was because he dabbed it so hard or maybe the back tire hit his foot. You can see that's possible in the footage, but not quite sure on that. Either way, he hit it pretty good. I'll put up the photos on screen right now of his foot. He didn't explain much about the injury, but judging by the bruising, he hit it pretty good. Again, not quite sure of the injury, but Kenny reassured us today that he is all good. Last night, he released a statement saying, quote, "Got a bit of bruising in my foot from the weekend. It'll buff out. I'm going to try and ride tomorrow or the next day, and we should be back in business." And sure enough, he was back on the road bicycle today riding and showed up at the test track about a half hour or so before I recorded this, so he seems to be all good. I'm really glad to hear that. It really would have sucked to see him get hurt and miss the final WSX round, the money that came with that, then probably miss some of Monster Energy Supercross as well. But luckily, he seems to be all good. What are your guys' thoughts on Kenny's injury? How about the Brayton Tanti crash? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below.